Even before we started on our trip, I knew that I wanted to go to the Salar de Uyuni in Bolivia. I had created a map of places we might want to see in the world, and it was on there before we even left Alaska.
We met Oksana and Arlo in Baños.
And we were all on the top of a hotel working on our blogs, and ours is roomtheplot.net.
roomtheplot.net.
And so we met them there, and then they emailed us when we were in Lima and said that they were in Lima, so we met up again. And then finally, we were all going to head to Bolivia. We ended up meeting in Uyuni to tour the salt flats.
So the best time to go to the Salar is in the rainy season, because then at night, if you get a clear night, you can see the stars reflected in the water down below. So we actually raced across Peru to get to Bolivia on the first part of February, where there was a new moon.
We showed up in Uyuni, and we all went over to the Red Planet Tour Company and set up a private tour for just the four of us.
One of the main reasons that we wanted to do the private tour was so that we had control over the route, because we were afraid if we were in a big group that we would have to do the standard route and we might want some say, and maybe even going out at night and taking some pictures under the stars, which wouldn't be typically possible on a group tour. So we opted to pay a little bit extra and go out with just the four of us.
When you get to the Salar, it is the most incredible place I've ever seen in my life. It doesn't even look like planet Earth.
The first thing that I noticed was the mountains in the distance looked like they were floating because of the reflection. I guess I don't really know how this works with the physics of it, but it looked like they were floating. And then we started to go out onto the salt flats, and it was just blown away. The most amazing thing I've ever seen. I haven't seen anything like that at all.
Immediately when you get out on the water, it's like you're driving on the surface of a lake.
It was kind of rainy, but we were able to drive ahead of the storm and get to the Salt Hotel.
And the hotel just looked so out of place. It was, what is this thing in the middle of nowhere? And it kind of looked like it was floating as well.
I can't imagine if that hotel wasn't there, because you go out in the middle and you'll get confused of which direction you're supposed to go to leave.
Yeah, I think that we actually only stepped into the salt flats like 1/10 of the way, and that's where the hotel is. But I imagine if you go halfway in, it would have been quite the sight to see nothing but white around.
Arlo and Oksana weren't feeling too good, and they weren't as excited as we were. We took about 400 photos, and I think they took 4.
Oksana and I had probably eaten something bad on the bus the night before, and by the end of the day, we're sitting there clutching our stomachs, wondering how we're going to get through a 3-day tour, and then we just realized we couldn't.
You could tell that they were hurting pretty bad and knew that it was going to end with our trip together and that they had to go home. As a matter of fact, I think I remember as soon as we got back to the office, Arlos jumped out of the car and started running into the office with his hand over his mouth, and I know that I didn't want to see what was going to happen.
We had to say goodbye to Windy and Dusty 2 days before that we were expecting, but it was the right thing to do.
It was a good thing that Arlo and Oksana didn't come with us, because there were no bathrooms along the route at all.
So after we got a little bit better, we decided to take another crack at the tour, mostly because it's an easy way to get into Chile.
We did the whole 3-day tour, and it was really amazing.
On the second trip through, though, we sat down with Red Planet Expeditions and talked very specifically about what we wanted to do.
For me it was really good, because not many people do that, so no, but for me it was really good. It's much better if you have all the information to do much better the trip.
We thought that we are going to Salar de Uyuni with Argentinian people or people who speak Spanish.
None of the buses came in from La Paz that morning, so all the tourists that they told us we'd be going with weren't there.
It was really interesting because I was talking with the other guys, because my group it wasn't ready, because I had to join with other companies.
So we met then Arlo and Oksana, who speak English.
When we got in the car, the guy told us, well, there's something that changed. The program is changed. You're going to stay in the Salar till the night. And we're just like, really? And he's just like, I'm sorry guys, I'm sorry for that. And we were just like, no, that's pretty cool. That's just amazing, staying on the Salar till the night, because all the other tours, I mean like the 20 4x4 are just staying there for 2 hours. So that means there's like 100 people in the same spot. And we were really lucky to meet Harlow and Oksana, because they wanted to do something different.
Yes, it really is like experience, see the stars in the semi-desert place.
Yeah.
We actually went to the train cemetery first and spent about 20 minutes there.
Because maybe you heard about the Pacific War that we got with Chile and Bolivia. So in the Pacific War in 1890 we lost the Pacific Ocean. Why? Because in the Pacific Ocean it was almost in these mountains. And here we were in a big party, the Carnival.
After we had lunch, we went out onto the salt flat itself, and at first it was very much like our first trip. We stopped a few hundred meters out at the first part to take some pictures, and this time we could tell very quickly that there was more water on the flats. There were no dry areas, and so everyone's walking around in either sandals or barefoot.
The salt crystallizes in this really hard cube-shaped crystals. I went barefoot, and let me tell you, ouch, it really hurts. But we had fun making funny poses and playing with the depth perception illusion.
We felt like we had all the time in the world because we were going to stay until sunset.
We went and took pictures on the salt flats of the, what do you call that, depth perception photos, and some photos with the water making reflections. And
I was climbing a rat. Like, this was really funny.
Yeah, we're traveling with a rat. Like, friends of us gave us like a little rat, like a false one. We took like pictures of the rat, and Aurel is climbing the rat like that, and all like kind of stuff like that. That's really funny.
Well, in this photo sessions, pictures, we spell words that Alaska and France, but Argentina is impossible. It's more letters. And take a flag, Argentine flag.
We flamed the
We flame the flag and take some pictures.
And so we did some things like having Arlo, Oksana, and Wendy on my shoulders, and then we did a couple of Wendy doing headstand on top of my head. It was all pretty interesting stuff.
we do some photos like some perspective, and I put my hand like this because he's very tall, and then I can see him in my hand. It's a very good photo.
Yeah, all the afternoon was like bright, like blue skies with clouds, which makes the scenery just amazing.
When you look out into the distance, you cannot even distinguish between where the sky ends and the earth begins.
Since it was completely flat for miles, and then there was a small layer of water on top of the salt, so it would reflect the sky.
When you see someone walking out in front of you, it's like they're walking in the sky. It's almost an infinite expanse.
Me and Arlo ran towards each other and jumped in the air, and it kind of looked like we were superheroes, you know, flying through the sky or something exciting like that. It was just incredible. I've never seen anything like that before.
It was looking like the perfect day. There were clouds on the horizon, but there were none overhead, and we had very high hopes that we would be seeing stars after the sunset.
And in the end of the afternoon, there was some part like in the horizon, which were getting like darker and darker.
Can't watch the stars because the storm appeared. My English is really
At this point, there were only two groups left out on the Salar. Our group and I think another group of Japanese tourists that stood off to the side. And we all just sat there as the wind picked up and the sun set, and we watched this thunderstorm grow and start to approach us.
It went on and on and on, and it seemed like it was surrounding us. It was truly amazing.
And because of the way the reflections worked out, it kind of pinched around the floating islands we saw off in the distance. And then the colors turned to orange first and then red, and the storm turned into a thunderstorm.
As the sun was setting, we could see, well, all the lightnings and everything, and the sun set at the same time. That was just like amazing.
Yes, it's a really good experience for us. Watch the lightning in double visions, the Salar mirrors.
It was terrific, really good. At the same time as he was scared, but this one was really good as well because I saw all the storm, the lightnings coming, and it was really, really nice.
At one point, the lightning was coming down so often that when I set up the camera to take bursts of 3 pictures at 5 to 8 seconds long, every single one had lightning on them. Some were so bright they overwhelmed the frame, some were just bolts out in the distance, some captured as many as 6 or 7 bolts on a single frame. After sunset, the wind was blowing. I was still in my shorts and sandals. It was incredibly cold. If it wasn't below 0, it was very close.
For me, it's very cold. But I enjoy it anyway.
I was not ready to leave. I was taking pictures up until every person was in the Jeep, and I turned the camera around to get one more photo of the Jeep itself. As we were driving back off the flats, our guide, Oscar, apologized to me and said, "I'm sorry, man, we didn't get to see any stars tonight." And I said, "Are you kidding me? I couldn't care less."
He told me that it was really interesting, and also he saw the sunset and also the lightnings. Even if he couldn't see the stars on the tall flats, he said that it was really good.
That's the point about Bolivia. You buy a tour and you never know where you're gonna go, when you're gonna leave, and how it's gonna be like.
The sights were just amazing. Never seen anything like that. I didn't even know things like that existed.
Never ever experienced anything like that in my life before.
We've never seen anything like what we saw on this trip.
We can saw things that I have never saw before.
That was one of the best things because you never see pictures of these places. You don't hear much about it. It's not like Machu Picchu where you kind of know what you're expecting there, but when you go on this Bolivian salt flats tour, you don't know what's next.
Oscar taught us a word on this trip that I really like. He said, when you see something incredible in Bolivia, you say, unbelievable.
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 I like that.
It's unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable!
Unbelievable.